Hey everyone, welcome back. This time we're diving into something pretty heavy, actually. The passing of South Korean actor Song Jae Lim. We got some news articles about what happened and, what's been going on since, plus a biography to get some background on him. Really trying to understand his journey and the pressures that actors and performers face in the Korean entertainment industry.
Yeah, it's a really complex situation, and it's important to be sensitive, especially while we look at, the bigger picture. It's a real loss, and we should focus on understanding the broader issues, not speculating on personal matters.
For sure. So let's actually start with Song Jae Lim himself. The bio paints a picture of a guy who really worked his way up in Korean entertainment. He started as a model, actually, in the late 2000s. He even appeared in magazines like GQ Korea and Vogue Girl Korea.
It's pretty common for Korean actors, actually. Modeling can be a way to get recognized, even if it's not acting yet.
Yeah, and it looks like it worked for him. Because by 2009, he'd moved into acting. Landed role in the movie Actresses. But I bet a lot of you remember his breakout role. That was in 2012, in the historical drama, The Moon Embracing the Sun.
Ah, The Moon Embracing the Sun. That wasn't just popular, it was a huge cultural phenomenon. Visually stunning storyline that really hooked people in. And of course, the cast was amazing. That's the role that really made Song Jae Lim a star.
From there, he just kept getting roles that showed how versatile he was. Like in 2013, he played this really chilling assassin in the thriller 2 Weeks. And then he showed this whole other side of himself on the variety show, We Got Married.
We Got Married is interesting because you get to see the celebrities' personalities, beyond just the characters they play. It was smart for him to do that show, connect with a wider audience, show off his humor and charm.
And he kept pushing his creative boundaries right up to the end. His last role was in a stage musical, La Rose de Versailles, based on a super popular manga series. Talk about demanding not just acting, but singing and dancing too.
Shows how dedicated he was to his craft. It's really sad to see such potential cut short, sadly. The news reports say that Song Jae Lim was found deceased in his home just a couple of days ago. On November 12th, authorities have confirmed that there's no sign of foul play, but they did find a note.
Out of respect for his family and friends. And because it's not our place to speculate, we're not going to talk about what the note said. It's a reminder that even though we're looking at these industry trends, this is a very personal loss for his family, his friends, and his fans.
Exactly. Our goal is to understand the bigger picture, and Song Jae Lim's passing is part of a really disturbing pattern in the Korean entertainment world. Sadly, there have been other suicides among celebrities, and it's important to talk about this larger issue.
It's heartbreaking to see this happening. Our sources mention other high-profile cases just in recent years, like actor Lee Sung-kyun and K-pop stars, Woon Bin Guhara and Sully. It really makes you think about all the hidden pressures that come with fame, especially in an environment as intense as the Korean entertainment industry.
And that intensity often comes from what we call the idol system. It's a system that creates these larger-than-life figures, almost superhuman in their talent, beauty, and dedication. And then imagine the pressure of trying to live up to that ideal all the time.
It sounds incredibly demanding, so it's not just about being talented. There's something more to it than just singing, dancing, or acting well.
It's about being this perfect persona, constantly being watched by fans, by the media, even by their own management agencies. The idol system is designed to create stars who are flawless on stage and off.
That must be so hard to keep up, almost like living in a gilded cage.
That's a good way to put it. A gilded cage is beautiful to look at, but it's still a cage. It limits freedom and imposes all these rules. The idol system can feel like that, with intense control over everything, from dating to public appearances, even personal opinions.
This article we have, The Dark Side of Asia's Pop Music Industry, really gets into that control aspect. It explains how some agencies have so much control over their stars' lives. They even tell them who they can date. There are literally no dating clauses in their contracts.
Yeah, a lot of people find that level of control shocking. And breaking the rules can have serious consequences. Just look at what happened to Minami Minagishi from the Japanese idol group AKB48. She was caught dating, and she ended up shaving her head in a public apology.
Wow, that's intense. It shows just how much power there is in these systems and how much pressure these young stars are under. It's easy to get caught up in the amazing performances, but we need to remember that these are real people behind those perfect images, people with real emotions and vulnerabilities.
Exactly. And when those vulnerabilities are ignored or pushed down, the consequences can be devastating. These are human beings first and foremost, not just performers.
It's easy to see those extreme examples and think, oh, well, that's just how it is over there. But it does make you wonder, are there similar pressures in other entertainment industries around the world?
Absolutely. The idol system might be more obvious in Korea and Japan, But that pressure to maintain a certain image, to meet those industry expectations, it's everywhere. Hollywood, for instance, has its own demands. Actors' appearances, their relationships, even their political views are always under scrutiny.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And then you add in the pressure cooker of social media. It's like everyone's a critic. And that negativity can be relentless, no matter where you are.
And that's where it gets even more complicated. With the idol system, there's this idea of bringing honor to your family, your agency, even your country. It's not just about personal success. It's about upholding this collective ideal.
So it's not just the individual's career at stake. It's this whole network of expectations and obligations. That must add a whole other level of stress.
Exactly. And that pressure can be immense, especially for young people who are still figuring out who they are. A lot of these idols start training when they're really young. They sacrifice normal childhood experiences to chase stardom. It's a huge commitment with so much pressure to succeed.
No wonder there's such a focus on this perfect, flawless image. It's like any sign of weakness or struggle is seen as a failure, not just for the individual, but for everyone connected to them.
And that brings us to another important issue, the stigma surrounding mental health, especially in some East Asian cultures. There's often a reluctance to talk about these problems, to seek help. People are afraid of being seen as weak or bringing shame to their family.
So it's like a double whammy. You've got this intense pressure to succeed, and then this cultural taboo against admitting you're struggling. That sounds incredibly isolating.
It can be, and that's why it's so important to challenge those stigmas, to create spaces where people feel safe asking for help. It needs to be okay to not be okay, and that message needs to be everywhere, from families to agencies to the general public.
That's easier said than done, though, right? Especially when you're dealing with a system that thrives on perfection and control.
It's definitely a challenge, but we are starting to see some positive changes. There's more open discussion about mental health these days, and that's a good sign.
You mentioned earlier that the control some agencies have is really strong in the Korean and Japanese entertainment industries. But you also said there are parallels in other parts of the world. Can you talk about that a little more?
Sure. Think about the pressure on Hollywood stars to stay thin, to look young, to fit into a certain standard of beauty, or the scrutiny that musicians face if they step outside their expected genre or image. That pressure to maintain a specific image, that's a global thing.
That's true. It seems like no matter where you are, the entertainment industry struggles to balance the human being with the public persona.
Exactly. And that's where we as the audience need to be more thoughtful. We need to remember that these are real people with real emotions and vulnerabilities. They're not just characters or performers.
So it's about seeing the person behind the polished image.
Absolutely. Seeing them as individuals, not just products. And that means being more aware of the messages we send through our support and our criticism.
You're right. It's easy to get swept up in fandom. But it's important to remember that our words and actions have an impact, especially with social media.
Social media has made both the good and the bad parts of fame even bigger. It lets you connect directly with fans, but it also opens the door to constant scrutiny and negativity, which can really hurt a person's self-esteem.
It's this pressure to always be on. There's no escape from the public eye. And I think we need to talk seriously about how fans can help create a healthier, more supportive environment.
I agree. Fandom should be about celebrating creativity and talent, not telling an artist how to live their life or demanding they fit into a specific box.
It's about supporting them as artists and as people, even when they mess up or don't meet our expectations.
Exactly. We need to build a culture of empathy and understanding online and offline. We need to hold the industry accountable for creating systems that put well-being first. And we need to be aware of how we contribute to the pressures these artists face.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. We've covered a lot, from Song Jae Lim's tragic death to the issues in the Korean entertainment industry, and then to the worldwide impact of fame and how we all play a role as consumers of entertainment. We'll be right back after a quick break to wrap up this deep dive and offer some final thoughts on what we can all learn from this.
Okay, we're back. And this deep dive has really got me thinking about the expectations we put on celebrities in Korea and around the world. It's easy to get lost in the entertainment, but we forget that there are real people behind it all.
That's so important, and something we all need to keep in mind. We've talked about the idol system and the pressures it creates, but let's think about Song Jae Lim's story. His career, from modeling to acting to musical theater, it shows how dedicated he was, but also this constant need to change and grow in this really demanding industry.
It does seem like he was always pushing himself creatively, right up to the very end. And it makes you wonder, even for those who are successful, what's the long-term effect of all this pressure? It can take a huge toll mentally and emotionally. even for those who seem to be doing great. It's like walking a tightrope, constantly trying to be perfect with everyone watching. And if you fall, the consequences can be devastating.
That brings up a question I've been thinking about. What can we as fans and as people who enjoy entertainment do to create a more supportive environment for these artists?
That's a great question, and there's no easy answer. It starts with understanding our own role in all of this. We need to think about what we watch and listen to. Choose to support artists who prioritize well-being and who use their platform for good.
So being more aware of where we focus our attention and our money.
Exactly, and thinking about how we interact with artists online and in person. Instead of demanding perfection or criticizing them for their flaws, let's celebrate their creativity and support them, even when they make mistakes.
It's about changing the whole culture of fandom, moving away from feeling entitled and being judgmental, towards a more empathetic and understanding approach.
Right, and that means holding the industry accountable for creating healthier systems. We need to demand better treatment for artists, advocate for better mental health support, and challenge the structures that keep these harmful pressures in place.
It sounds like it takes a group effort, a change in mindset from everyone, agencies, fans, even the artists themselves.
Definitely. We all have a part to play in making the entertainment industry more humane and sustainable, one where artists can be creative and successful without sacrificing their well-being.
This brings us back to Song Jae Lim and the other artists we've lost. Their stories remind us that the entertainment we love comes with a human cost. It's a call to action for all of us to be more aware, more compassionate, and more proactive in pushing for change.
I agree. It's not about rejecting the entertainment industry. It's about engaging with it in a more thoughtful and responsible way, remembering the human beings behind the performances, and fighting for a system that values their well-being as much as their talent.
Thanks for joining us on this difficult but important journey. I hope this deep dive is giving you, our listeners, some new things to think about as you navigate the world of entertainment. Let's all do our part to create a world where artists can shine brightly without burning out.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Remember, change starts with awareness. And by having these conversations, by demanding better, we can create a brighter future for the artists we admire and for the whole industry.